Going back to the grandstand for Noah Mancini in a moment.
14 seed and Haarhuis, a man who had to play an additional tournament in order to qualify for this U.S. Open Tennis Championship. They will hold center stage tonight at the U.S. Open on USA. That match will be coming up in a moment.
USA is up for this match, and a situation that is almost identical to the one in which Aaron Krickstein pulled off perhaps the biggest win of his tennis career a year ago, beating Stefan Edberg, the reigning Wimbledon champ, in 5 sets. All 3 sets that Krickstein won were tie breaks. It was an incredibly cold night, though. That's the one difference. Not nearly as windy or as outright cold, Barry, as it was here on Stadium Court last year.
Now, much better conditions tonight, Ted, than when we saw Krickstein knock off Edberg in that very exciting match on this same court. Good conditions, not too windy, and I think these guys will certainly survive over 5 sets.
I also think another difference is that there is the pressures on Krickstein this time. Playing Edberg, he could have gone out a little bit looser. Edberg was supposed to win. Now the shoe's on the other foot. Krickstein's supposed to win.
Krickstein is a seeded player this year, and his early round results, of course, the comeback drops the first set to Wally Masur, and then the first 2 to the Soviet Alexander Volkov.
I watched that Volkov match very closely, and he looked like he was out of it. I thought Krickstein was definitely going to exit the tournament, but it was a fine comeback in 5 sets over the Russian.
The only matches Aaron Krickstein has ever lost here at the U.S. Open were right here on Stadium Court, including a 5th set in the quarterfinals to Aussie Darren Cahill last year. Paul Haarhuis came out here earlier this week against John McEnroe, and no one knew how to say his name. Now they not only know how to say it, where he's from, and what he has done. Very modest tennis career until the win over McEnroe. In fact, Haarhuis, when he left the Netherlands to go to college, had to go to Armstrong State in Georgia because he said his international results were so non-existent that no colleges would offer him a scholarship.
Well, it's interesting, Vitas, when you chatted with John there in that interview, he kind of seemed relaxed, like, well, this guy is not a bad player.
Well, I think the shock of the first-round loss has worn off a little bit. I know he was very disappointed, and he realized this kid can play. By winning his second-round match, I think John feels a little bit better. There's nothing more annoying than after you're upset that you end up watching your opponent lose in the next round.
And Ted, Vitas and I were chatting before we came on the air tonight. I think one of the impressive things about Haarhuis is that he beat Miguel Nito in the next round. So many times a youngster pulls off a big upset and says, well, that's it, I've done my thing for this tournament, and then he gets bounced in the next round. This kid came running right back, so he's tough.
Haarhuis serving to begin the match. Richard Kaufman, one of the real veterans amongst the chair umpires, is in that seat tonight. Haarhuis comes right out, just smacking to the baseline.
15 all.
He's a pretty loose character. We're talking to him in the dressing room. He's very relaxed. He wants to come out here and play well.
Look at the strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, Krickstein, huge forehand. He doesn't like to come in very often. No question about that. He is not going to come in and hit too many volleys tonight. Paul Haarhuis served very big against McEnroe. He can mishit the ball and play very erratically like we just saw in that last point, but he's got to keep Aaron completely off balance.
How does he do that?
How does he do what, Ted?
How does Haarhuis keep Krickstein off balance?
Well, I think he's got to mix it up a little bit. Hit some drop shots, not just stand on the baseline and fire away with ground strokes all the time, which I know he can do, but I think he's got to hit a little bit off-pace balls to mix it up. Vitas, I always felt the first 2 games of any match were the toughest to play because you're not totally warmed up, and especially at night because there's a lot more to get used to.
Well, I mean, I think it's always great to get off to a good start, but as we've seen this week, we've seen 2 sets slip away, and that doesn't mean a whole lot at this new U.S. Open.
Now a little bit of an early sign. Krickstein hitting the ball and letting Haarhuis make mistakes. Krickstein opens with a break. Krickstein serving here as stadium court fills again for this night session. And in that first game, Haarhuis just was whacking the ball, whacked himself right into a break.
Oh. Krickstein comes in on the very first point of his own serve and pays for it. Watch it now as Aaron Krickstein sees a chance here, comes in on a rare opportunity, and the ball just gets right over him into the open court. Aaron's probably going to say, that's the last time I come in tonight. Knocks off the two-hander. Here's the two-hander that gave McEnroe some trouble. Watch him get ready early and then watch the weight move right into the shot. Beautiful control. Nice high follow-through. Gets over it well. You know, when you think about these two guys, they have very similar styles. Two-handed backhand. They both kind of slap at the forehand.
Haarhuis keeps hitting the ball strictly at Krickstein's backhand. Krickstein, of course, still the youngest player to ever win a Super Series event. That was at age 16, Tel Aviv in 1983. But should Haarhuis be that afraid of Krickstein's forehand that he would hit every ball to the backhand side?
Well, I think for him to have any success, he's got to play a little bit into Krickstein's forehand to open up the court. Krickstein's used to having everybody play into his backhand because that is his weaker side, but that will not open the court. That still leaves the whole court open with his forehand side. So you've got to play into the forehand to open up the backhand side. And I think Paul Haarhuis has to take a lot of chances. He did that against McEnroe, and it paid off. He can't play steady tennis and beat Krickstein. If they play that kind of tennis, it's basically going to be whoever makes the most mistakes at the end of the match is going to lose the match.
Which is probably the way Krickstein wants the match to go.
That's the way Krickstein wants to play it. But I don't think that's the way Paul Haarhuis should play it.
That's out. And so Krickstein holds for 2-love here in the first set.
Even though it's early on in the match right now and 2-love is anything can still happen, but Krickstein right now is dictating the play. He's playing the match exactly the way he wants it played.
just turned 22. In fact, he is a year and a half younger than Paul Haarhuis. If you polled the people in the stadium, I don't think anybody, or very few, would know that.
Vitas, has Krickstein's game changed in any way since you played him back in '83?
I think he's beefed up certain parts of his game. I don't think he's quite as afraid to come into net as he was back then. I mean, he wasn't very comfortable, but neither was Borg at the age of 16.
Yeah.
And Borg developed an approach shot and a volley. Later on, I think Krickstein started to work a little bit more on his aggressive part of the game. And you can see that he does take some chances and does push the play, comes into net.
Now, there you saw Krickstein way off court. He gives a lot of space on that forehand side. Kind of almost teases you to serve to that forehand, which is his best shot. I guess he does the same thing, too. Leaves a lot of room on that forehand side, but they're both quick enough to cover.
Well, it's a good play. Sometimes also it shakes up the server. It lets him know that, you know, you do have a big shot on the forehand side, and that I may use it sometime when you throw in a second serve on a break point.
Haarhuis really opens the court up with this two-handed backhand here. He comes in quickly, sees the opportunity. Now he knows he's got an easy shot, plays it safely. Good play.
See, there he had a good opportunity. He had a great forehand into the backhand side, put Krickstein into the defensive. He should have come in behind that and volleyed that ball. Instead, he let it bounce, gave Krickstein a chance to get back into the center of the court and lost the point.
So that's what Krickstein is going to gamble. If the guy ranked 115 is going to beat himself.
That's exactly right.
And now Krickstein will have a break point for 3-love here in the first set.
Krickstein was a lot sharper today than against Volkov the other day.
Yeah.
Starting off a lot better.
He was very slow. Lost the first 2 sets. I thought he was out of the tournament over there on that grandstand court. I think Krickstein also likes to play out here at night. Once you have a win like he did over Edberg, under the lights, you kind of say, hey, that's my time of day. I like playing at night.
Big ace on the break point. Now second serve at deuce. Well, Haarhuis saves the break point and holds his serve for the first time.
16 lead.
All it takes is a little coordination. Footwork is important too. Plus, with tennis, the whole family can enjoy it together. Tennis is a game for everyone, even us.
Krickstein up a break in the first set and serving at 15-love. And there's the first ace for Krickstein.
Krickstein's kind of got a quick motion on that serve. He doesn't take a big swing. He just kind of throws it up, bends the knees, and then cranks it out there.
I think his serve has improved since I saw it last year. A little bit more zip on the first serve.
There it is, right there. You see that motion. Oh.
30-15.
And this is the play that I think he should try a little bit more of. Try to hit more into the forehand court of Krickstein. There, straight up the line into the forehand court. He leaves you that whole side.
That was a good example of how much room Krickstein leaves down that line. He was about 3/4 of the way over the backhand side.
Second serve at 40-15.
I think things are starting to warm up a little bit here.
This kid has a great forehand. Now watch it as he just kind of waits for the last minute here. Now he backs around it. Watch Krickstein's moving to his right. He hits a clean winner from the baseline. That is not easy to do.
But he plays true to form. Haarhuis was a slow starter against McEnroe, actually. Did not play a very good first set, and boy, did he turn it on in the next 3 sets.
He's got a lot of instinct from the baseline. Deep shot.
Okay, he's turning on that forehand again. Haarhuis.
No matter what you say, Vitas, that win over John's definitely given him some confidence.
Oh, he's moved up 100 notches in his own mind after being somebody like McEnroe.
You know, they say in tennis you improve on plateaus. You don't kind of go up gradually. You jump from one plateau to the next. He's on a new plateau here tonight.
He's 10 stories up after day one.
Let's have a look at the Paul Haarhuis forehand. Look at the big swing. Out in front, comes over the ball. Nice looking shot. You know, it's not so much what you do in preparation. It's about the last 18 inches before you hit the ball and as you follow through. That's where all the action is.
In that unfamiliar territory, but Haarhuis puts the volley away.
I think Haarhuis is a lot more comfortable up at net than Aaron Krickstein. Watch it now as he comes in behind what looked to be a fine approach shot. And now watch him cut off this forehand volley. Good footwork. The racket's out in front. And he knows when to come in behind the shot.
Krickstein had a break point for 3-love, and now very quickly winds up struggling to hold. Remember that in the first set against McEnroe, McEnroe had 8 break points against Haarhuis, converted none of them. And you look back at that early chance that McEnroe had to get Haarhuis down, he let it go. And it turned the entire match around.
It's impressive. McEnroe has not lost to anybody out of the top 3 except this gentleman right here this year. McEnroe lost to Becker, he lost to Edberg, and he lost to Lendl. And Haarhuis. Pretty select group to be in.
McEnroe had a great year.
He's 30. That's called being the high handicapper in a foursome, right? You're getting about 22 shots in that group.
First serve.
There's a big doubles match going on the grandstand, and there is John McEnroe. will be checking in tonight. John Barrett's watching that match on the grandstand. McEnroe and Mark Woodford playing Diego Narciso and Goran Ivanisevic. But here, Haarhuis holds his serve. Krickstein still up a break, first set. Krickstein serving, up a break, first set.
Good control on the forehand. You know what I'm amazed is that both of these guys take such a big swing, and yet their control is excellent from the forehand side.
Krickstein is keeping Haarhuis pinned on that baseline during his service games.
Good first serve from Krickstein. Vetus, do you think the ball's being hit harder today than it was when you were playing because of these new rackets? Is the ball actually going across that net faster?
Well, I think the rackets definitely have increased the speed of the ball. I think the style of tennis